I'm here because I need your help. No.
According to the U.S. Census Bureau, white people will go from being the majority to a minority group in the next 25 years. Yeah, and to make this transition a little less traumatic, we've put together this helpful educational guide.
White people, they used to be everywhere. In our homes, at our jobs, and on our juries. For years, white people were the majority in this country. And when you're the majority, America feels like one long sing-along around the campfire. But those days are about to come to an end. That's right, it won't be long before white people in America will be just another minority. Going from majority to minority in America can be painful. Just ask the American Indian. Luckily, America is very clear on how minorities should be treated. Here are some helpful guidelines to get you started. The first thing you'll need to do is find a new place to live. Why, look at all those lovely suburban homes. How can anyone choose? Now, you don't have to. As a minority, society chooses for you. You'll be limited to your city's high-crime, low-income neighborhoods, making searching for that home sweet home easy as pie. Ah, the freedom of the open road. Now that you're a minority, driving's a new kind of adventure. Simply driving a car while white means you'll automatically be under suspicion of having committed a violent crime. And when the policeman pulls you over, do exactly what he says. Because in America, it's not unusual for minorities to be shot for not being arrested quickly enough. Until recently, the only crimes people blamed the whites for were harmless violations like corporate malfeasance resulting in global economic collapse and the occasional mass murder. But as a minority, you can expect to be blamed for all the crime. Managed to stay out of the clink? Well, Jimmy cracked corn. Now it's time to find a job. While it used to be that the working world was your occupational oyster, you'll now find your options limited to a career in the lawn maintenance, migrant farming, and table bussing industries. Oh, and remember, don't think of it as job hunting anymore. As a minority, you should think of it as taking our jobs. So, say hello to the new America. Sure, the loss of white privilege might take some getting used to, but there's no reason why, with a few simple downgrades to your expectations, you shouldn't become a proud, happy, constructive member of society. A society in which you're a minority.
Hey, thanks for watching.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click here for more videos.
And make sure to catch new episodes Friday at 9 p.m. on HuffingtonPost.com.
Hi, my name's Faith, and I'm here because I need your help. No, I'm not asking you to spare the snow leopard or the sea turtle from becoming extinct species. I'm here with a plea for diversity. The European is a rare beauty growing nearer to extinction by the day. Non-European peoples are both legally and illegally invading their natural habitats. It wasn't so long ago that Europeans made up over a quarter of the world's population, and it won't be too long until their numbers plummet to just a single digit. Will you just walk away? Consider Germany, where German men between 20 and 35 will become a minority in their natural habitat by next year. And Sweden, where non-Europeans already top 1/3 of the total population, the 18 to 30-year-old cohort will be majority non-European also by next year. Meanwhile, in the United Kingdom, where already a whopping 40% of people under 18 descend from non-European backgrounds, their total population will see white Britons reduced to an absolute minority in Britain by 2066. And as African and Middle Eastern immigrants across Western Europe retain rates above replacement fertility, Europeans in every other European country are not having enough children to replace themselves. And the European demographic replacement has not been without social upheaval too. Mass rape epidemics and the spectacle of terrorism have swept across the UK, Germany, Sweden, and France too. Meantime, for the European diaspora across the pond, Trudeau's Canada is the country facing the fastest rate of ethnic change in the West. With a per capita immigration rate that's roughly twice that of the United States, where 4 out of 5 immigrants are a visible minority, the Great White North is destined to become a majority-minority country in less than a generation, while its overall white population is forecasted to fall like a rock, plunging below 20% in less than a century. And stateside, even with President Trump at the helm, the United States is not being spared from the ongoing, relentless process of population replacement. Due mostly to Hispanic and Asian immigration and the consolidation of already established immigrant populations, whites will be a minority in America in less than 1 generation. However, the same will be true of under 18s in just 4 years. As for the non-Hispanic white birth rate, the Census Bureau announced way back in 2012 that this group made up just a minority of births, while that dip has only become more severe in recent years. White people have fought for the rights of black people and were lauded as heroes. Millions died fighting for the rights of Jews, and they too were called heroes. Will you, the growing minority majority, return the favor? For a simple gift of a wall or an end to dirt right citizenship or pro-natal policy, you can symbolically adopt this European. Call now and receive this adoption kit as our gift of thanks. Will you stand by her? Will you stand by true diversity? Please call now and help us stop this race from vanishing. Thanks everyone for tuning into this video. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and help share to get the message out. And hey, if you want to help support my creative work, head over to faithgoldy.ca/donations. Thanks very much, everyone. God bless.
The trend's still moving on, and these are new census projections, the first projections that were done since the 2010 census. And, you know, they confirm what a lot of us thought were happening, but it makes it look very, very vivid for people who were a little skeptical about how our changes were occurring in this country. And what it shows is that we have a continued growth of our minority population, and over the next 50 years, we're going to see a decline in our white population over the broad spectrum of these projections, which go from 2012 to 2060. We're going to see a 10% decline in our white population and more than doubling of our minority population. And so in around the year 2043, it's about 3 decades from now, we're going to have nationally what you would call a majority-minority population. That would be more minorities than there are whites. And you know, the bigger gains numerically are from Hispanics. There are still gains for blacks, although the growth rate isn't as high, but then Asians and people who are more than one race. The trends that we're seeing right now, the growth of these minorities, especially what I call new minorities, Hispanics, Asians, I mean, they've been with us for a long time, but they've been growing rapidly, quickly, and I call them new minorities for that reason, you know, are partially due to immigration, recent immigration, and also fertility levels. So we now have enough Hispanics in this country where the bigger growth for Hispanics is from fertility, not from immigration, even though we continue to have Latino immigration in the United States. For Asians, still immigration is the biggest driver of change because their big immigration waves didn't start till a little bit later. But those two aspects, immigration and fertility, is what's driving these changes. And because both of them tend to be concentrated on younger parts of the population, that's why the young part of the population gets to see the biggest growth right now. Of course, they'll continue to age and they'll get older over time. For the white population, doesn't have as much immigration and only a tiny amount of immigration are whites in the United States. And they're older, which means there are fewer women in their childbearing years proportionately than was the case, say, back in the baby boom. And they tend to, even at that, have generally lower fertility than some of these other groups. So for all of those reasons, the white population probably won't be replacing itself after we get to a certain stage, while these other groups are going to continue to grow in large numbers. And even if we don't have the same levels of immigration that we have now, we're still going to see the shrinking of the white population, so the minority population will still grow to a greater degree. Politics is impacted by this. I think I don't have to say this to anybody who's been awake for the last couple of months, that the demography of the electorate has been very important in this last election. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, when you're looking at all these different interest groups, you'll see that not just Hispanics, but different Asian groups and African Americans are going to be growing in lots of ways. And these new projections show that in the year 2027, the 18 to 29-year-old population is going to be majority-minority. I think both parties realize this now as a result of the last election, that you need to cater to the interests of these different groups. And the interests of people who are new, younger families are quite different from sort of the older white population. The younger part of the population is interested in the education of their kids. They're interested in having affordable housing. They're interested in health care for their kids. They may be interested in some of the programs that affect the seniors, but those are the things that they're going to want to focus on. Not just immigration, but a whole array of things that are a somewhat different package of issues than the older population is going to be interested in. Those new people need to be ready to plug into the kind of labor force that we need to keep our economy going, a knowledge-based labor force, one that's globalized, and that goes hand in hand with how we're going to prepare our young new minorities in the United States. And I think that's really an important challenge for us, because we know from a lot of the literature that a lot of the first and second generation immigrants don't have the levels of education that mainstream America used to have. They're improving. They're doing much better now than they were 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and their families are quite interested in getting ahead. But there's lots we have to do as a country, whether federal programs, state programs, local programs, to really focus. I think this is really an important national challenge for us.